Good. Thank you for being so much on time. And that's important because we have the live streaming going on and the people are waiting. The good news for you is you will get the link for the recordings. So I got the question from some people who are taking many pictures. So you don't have to do that. You get the link to the recording, so you can see all the talks again. So just go with the flow, enjoy it. Be here. And now. Good. So, now we come to a very interesting part, because we have seen that a system that has been developed in the US, like conscious capitalism with the principles, also works in a different environment in Russia. So I would like to introduce Vincent Gentil to you.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's possible in Russia.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Isabelle.
Hello, Jean.
Hello. And I'm Jean.
Okay, so, first of all, it's a big emotion for us to be here today and share the story of Vincent with you. So we have prepared a format which is open. We will ask him questions, what happened, how did he make it happen, and what was the big outcome of that in Russia. Vincent, I have a question for you before we start. You started your working in supermarket in '85. You joined Leroy Merlin, which is part of ADEO Group, in '89. And your international career took off in '93 because you created Leroy Merlin in Italy. Can you tell us a bit more about ADEO Group and your decision to go to Russia?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
First of all, the ADEO Group, it's one of the big DIY companies in the world, after Home Depot and Lowe's.
Who knows ADEO Group? Okay.
With some brands like Leroy Merlin, Bricoman, and that these are the two best brands. With companies in 15 countries, more than 1,300 stores, and more than 110,000 collaborators. And the ADEO Group is serving every day more than 1 million customers. I'm already working for 30 years in this group with a big international experience. I worked abroad 26 years, created company in Italy, developing company in Italy, in Brazil, in Greece. And in 2011, my boss asked me, "Oh, Vincent, do you want to go to Russia?" I said, "No, thank you." It was the first. Sorry. It was the first question, but after I go deeper in this argument and find that there was a very strong base, fundamental in Russia, and high potential growth, and I was open to discover this new culture for me.
Okay, Jean.
Yes, I was wondering, Vincent, when after you landed in Moscow, you grabbed a taxi and you went on the long wait from the airport to the city center. How did you feel? What were you feeling? Can you go back to that situation and share that with us?
Yes, maybe not all, but a part. It was very brand new. It was the second time I was in Russia. And for me, it was what impressed me. It was the difference between the real and the imaginary, and with the likely. And what you see, it's one thing. What you can do, the way you can do, it's another thing. And Russia, it's a complex business situation, political, economic, social, and with very big also environmental challenges, and with a lot of also corruption, which is a key in what everything you do in Russia. And for me, no, it's okay, it's okay. It will change anything. And Russia, we have to remember that Russia is the biggest country in the world. You have 9 time zones. And it's really impressive when you go from Moscow to Vladivostok. It's the same time when you go from Moscow to New York, to have an impression.
Just a point of interest. By now, most of you looking at the top left corner of the screen have realized that the international phone code for reaching Russia is 007.
Yeah.
Now it's plus on most smartphone, but yes, it's James Bond.
And
yeah, I was going to come back to you.
Yeah, just to remember also that on the past 2 decades, the Russian people, they have faced 3 economic crises, high inflation, and then they are used to adapt themselves to the situation, to the changes, and also what is important to understand that there is a very short-term way to see the future. Difficult to make people working on a 5-year plan or 10-year plan, because they think that there will be another crisis, and it's not important to think about so far. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Vincent. I was wondering, after you arrived in the center, you went to the office. What do you remember from your first 100 days?
First of all, I remember that I refused driving car with a driver, because I said I will take the metro like all the people to understand better what is the way people are living there, to understand the culture. And I remember the driver was saying, "Vincent, you are a general manager, no? Then you can't do that. You can't do. It's not possible to do that." Also, I remember the 3 first decisions I took with my management committee, which were symbolic decisions, not business decisions, but for me very important too. The first one was a big part of the management committee was French also, to understand the first decision, and I said, in 2 years we will do this management committee in Russia, in Russian language.
Yeah.
And they were all smiling, sure, because to learn Russian it's not an easy thing, but for me it's when you live in a country, you have to speak the language to understand better culture, to have no intermediary between you and people. It's really, really important to understand people. Second decision was when we go in the stores. At this period, at the beginning, we have 18 stores and 7,500 people. When we go to the store together, we will wear the company clothes, because we are like all employees. Then it's for me the way to diminish the difference between social difference between people. And third one, in the head office we had a lot of offices with curtain everywhere. I said we will make some transparency, and we will.
You removed all,
removed all the curtains. Yeah.
So you could see everyone working.
Yes, and why I want to speak about this, because I think that a leader is not always speaking about business. Business is a consequence due to your behavior, due to your ethics, due to what decisions you took, like these decisions, like symbolic decisions like this. And this is creating an atmosphere, a way to work, which enable after to develop business in the right way.
Yeah, so you went for small things that are very symbolic, behavioral, and that impact the way people interact within the company.
Yeah.
Good. The next one, the next question I wanted to ask. You started end of 2011.
Yeah.
And the human project that you conducted then for several years afterwards started in January 2013. What is it that took you a year, approximately, before embarking? What happened during that period?
I think that the first year was also for me the way to adapt myself to the environment, to adapt myself to the culture, to the Russian language. Because now I speak fluent Russian language, but at the beginning I remember my first speech in Russian for the end of the 2011, and it was I needed 12 minutes to speak my speech, and normally it's 4-5 minutes. Then people, it was important for the people, but it was difficult to listen also.
So you've taken the challenge on yourself that
yes,
all the board meetings will be in Russian.
I take the challenge that all my speech will be in Russian from the beginning.
And he made it every time he did.
Yeah, sometimes it took a bit longer than previously, but it all worked, and I think that's been one of these details that actually was not so detailed as we could believe. People appreciated a lot the step forward that you were taking. Another feature of the project is that you didn't plan all the steps of the project ahead. At some point, yes, you had a clear direction, but you didn't know exactly how it will happen and what will happen as the various steps. How did you deal with that kind of uncertainty, that kind of caminando way of approaching a project?
I think that.
I have to say that actually Vincent fell day before yesterday evening when he arrived in the hotel, and he hurt himself badly, so he may get out of breath. Sorry for that, okay? So you understand.
Then I'm not 100% today. Huh? And for me, it was really important when we started this project to do it with people. For me, it's a key point. It was not the first time I was doing this kind of project about value, about how to build a vision for the company, about how to build a strategy for the company. And for me, a key point is to do it with all the employees and try to create the conditions to get a lot of information from and true information from people inside the company. Yeah. For me, it's really a key point because I believe that when you are taking part to this kind of process, the level of involvement of people is really high. It's also they are waiting from the management to do what they said. It's also important too. This and. what we have done at the beginning, we have done a big survey for all the employees of the company. 9,000 people it was at this time, if I remember. And it was a survey about the value of people. What are your value, personal value? What are the value of the company? And what are the value of the company you want to see? And then we use this, we make, I think that 90% of participation we had.
Yeah, we had a
survey.
high rate, yeah.
And after with this, we created the list of the company values.
And I remember it was not mandatory to participate. You decided to invite people.
Yes.
And there was no obligation
Yes.
in the communication. So reaching 80%, was it?
More than that.
Was a sign in itself.
No, in Russia, when you invite people, when general manager invite people, it's also
Okay, so the Camino Caminando journey, because actually I remember very well, you created a working team,
Yeah.
and they were like, Vincent, what do we do? Where do we go? What is the plan? What is next? And your answer was, I have no idea. And for them it was, wow, come on, you have no idea. How did you feel then?
I feel very good. But it's related to the view, short-term view. Always we are dealing with this short-term view and action. Russians are very good when they have to act, and it's interesting that French and Russian, we are French. They are very good when they are thinking, and Russian when they act. It's interesting too. And I was some reflection when we were doing the working group. One day each month, say, Vincent, stop discussing. Now we have to do it, and I was taking time because I thought it was really a key point to go deeper together, and after we will act.
I remember a feedback from one of the cash attendants, a very nice lady, who by the end of a workshop just raised a hand and said, look, I have one feedback to share with you. I've been in this company for 10 years, at the same job behind my cash desk. It's the first time that somebody is asking my views. So that was quite moving when I remember that lady taking the word.
And actually, I know that was kind of really impressive for all your team. In 1 year, you have involved each collaborator, every woman, every man working within the organization in this human project to keep the human heartbeat. You did 400 workshops in 3 months, and I mean 100% of his collaborators contributed to the authoring of this human project. You had a lot of feedback, and you all wonder who is that? I mean, that's Lali. And Lali, she's been attending all the workshops in Russia, so she has the feedback. It's a symbol of wisdom. She has a beautiful memory, but think about this feedback. I mean, what was really surprising for you? Because the level of feedback he took was tremendous. What happened? I remember you were waking up,
What was surprising in the feedback that there was things that we expected that were not there. For example, a key value for a retail company is the client. No, there was not inside the 20 best values. They were not speaking about the clients, and I understand that first we had to care more about people, about their health, about their well-being, about key points which were important to them. And second step, yes, maybe we have to go more on the client relation. And I remember also some people of the management committee was saying to me, Vincent, we will add the client to the value because it's important, no? And I said, No, we will not add. It's coming from people. We are taking what is coming from the people, using it, and we will not add nothing. And for me, it was also transparency, respect about what we have done, about the survey we have done. We do what people want to do.
So you had the feeling that you had to fix internal issues before moving forward?
Yes. I remember, for example, one of the key points for people was the possibility to do sport. And we decided to put in each store sportzal, I don't know in English.
A fitness room in every store.
For example, it was an example. After the other key point was the capacity to buy a flat or home, and we give the opportunity with helping to pay a part of the credit, helping people to develop this. We now have already 2,000 people who have taken this possibility.
Okay. And what were the first changes actually that you witnessed? Because I know, we need to measure. We heard about measurement, that's something which is important. What has changed? Because there are some key figures about, loyalty, engagement, customer satisfaction. Can you share what happened within very few years?
Yes, to measure, I think a lot speaking about measurement. For me, it's not a key point, but if you are very rational people, you need this each day. And what I recently witnessed is it was the employee satisfaction index, which was growing from 61% to 82%. The engagement rate from 57 to 71.
71%. We talked about engagement rate this morning. Raj made a presentation. I mean, that's a lot, no? 71 in Russia. That's great. I think.
We also become a best employer in Russia. And everything was growing. Also, customer index was growing. Brand image was growing, and it gave the capacity for us to hire a lot of talent people there. No, it enabled to change the image of the company from something conservative to something innovative. A company which is caring about people and which is doing it.
Okay, so your first step was actually to care about people, and then I know that in 2019 you have 35,000 people, a few years passed, and you did start another human project to see where you were, and what has changed.
Yes, at the beginning of the year, this year, we have done again this big survey in the same way that we have done 6 years ago. And it was really interesting because we got the value client.
So the client was there.
Among the key values. And what was really interesting for Russia also, not only for our company, it was that people, they open the way they see Russia, they see the world. And we have, for example, in the value linked to environmental value, social value, which was not present, nothing, 6 years ago. Then there is a very strong trend and growth on this. And what is important for our employees, the forest in Russia, but environmental value.
Yeah, Mariana talked about the forest this morning, and it emerged in terms of social responsibility. We had like 20,000 people attending workshop, whether virtually or physically, and say, please, Zashiti nas les, for those who are from Russia here, please take care about our forest. So that emerged. And for you, it was, I remember Vincent was like, wow, fantastic.
And about social responsibility, the key value was to fight against poverty. And because in Russia we have a very different situation from Moscow to small cities. And it's a key point for people too. But the best value for 21,000 people is still well-being. And what was the first survey?
Okay. And now, Jean, what about, trust? What happened? What Vincent managed to do in Russia for the first time? Sorry, it is just Jean forgot the question.
No. Sorry. Well, for the first time certainly in Russia, a corporation offered his employees to become shareholder. And so Leroy Merlin in Russia has opened the capital to the employees. And that was a bit of a big risk you took at the time, wasn't it, Vincent?
Yes, it was, because for people, for all the employees, it's not a key point to be shareholder. The key point is to get money to do the basic things. Then it was a big challenge for us, but it's also part of the group values. We have a philosophy, I can say, to share power, to share knowledge, to share money, and to share willing. And for me it was important to launch this new way to share to all people, to develop the involvement of people, to develop the trust of people, and we had as a result, we had 80% of the employees who decided to be part of this journey, so to be shareholders.
What was your biggest fear when you decided to do that? What is to have the agreement of the guys in France, of the group guys, or of your employees?
Of the employees, because it's a problem of trust, of long-term trust. Because if you want to be shareholder, you need to have a long-term vision, more than 1 or 2 years.
Okay, and so sharing profit with all your collaborators in Russia, how do you feel about that? Because this is the first time it happened in Russia, I have to say that. So
I think I thought it was a normal way to work with people after all we have done. It's a big trust also for the company, for the group, French group to Russia also, and with a lot of difference between rubles and euros. It's difficult things to maintain during the time, and for me it was one stone that we put on the wall.
Okay.
I wanted to move on the more personal level. What has happened to yourself, Vincent, between the day you arrived in Russia and today? How did you manage yourself? How did you get to know yourself better? Can you tell us more about that?
It's already 20 years that I'm working on myself. Then I think it's a normal way to be a human being and to develop old life. And I'm practicing meditation every day, and I'm doing a lot of trainings, also things more deeper than trainings. And for me, it's a key point to be aware of what is your role, how you can impact people. And I try to give this. I try also to give this to my people always. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I made one day with my management committee of to initiate them to the meditation. It was really interesting because for some it was already, they already began to do this, but for a big part, they were not understanding why we are doing meditation inside a company. Why it could be interesting to grow if you want to grow people. Because if you want to grow people, you need to grow. If you are not growing, you do nothing. Then for me, it was a normal way. Okay, result maybe 10% of the people. It's normal, normal reason for meditation. We're practicing after, but they were seeking also in another way. 6 months ago, I invited all the manager, all the store director to a workshop of Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know Joe Dispenza.
Can you imagine? I mean,
and
they went.
I invited 200 people, and it was the first time of Joe Dispenza in Moscow. It was very, very interesting. And okay, I think that the role of the leader, of the manager, is to sow, semer.
To
put seeds.
To put seeds every day. You put seeds every day. Sometimes you have to put some
water, no vodka, right.
Sometimes you see nothing. Sometimes you have to wait for 1-2 years before seeing, but you have to do it every day.
Okay.
If I wanted to ask you a question, Vincent. If you close your eyes, you go back to that duration of the project. Is there one particular moment that moved you particularly? That comes to mind that you'd like to share with us? Just the one.
I remember a workshop when I decided to show a big earth. You remember?
Yeah.
And I decided to show to all the people that we were working together. And it was not only this, but we had feelings, we have emotions, and we have to share them in order to grow ourselves and to grow together. And I think it was brand new for people to hear a general manager speaking about this. No, I think that it's my role to inspire people and inspire and be aligned. It's not only to inspire to hear, but to be aligned with what you are.
Thank you very much, Vincent, for sharing that. Thank you. And we have another question after, but you can... Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Now... well, we've been witnessing that mission of Vincent, and we're happy actually that we share it today. That means we end of time. Sorry. And
like
actually,
morning.
the thing is, do we have time? 3 minutes for a question to people, or not? Tell me, otherwise we don't. Okay. But for us, it was very emotional. And I have a question, just finally. Let's say you meet a very young boy, you're on the beach, you're on holiday, and that young boy comes to you, and he's 17 years old. And he said, look, I'm stuck, I don't know, how can I take part, how can I be part of the future ecosystem in the world? What would you tell to that young person, 17 years old? We're here to build the future and to think about future generation. What would be your recommendation to him or her? Can be a teenager.
The first thing I think I will say that you have to be aware of yourself, of what you are. You have to grow yourself. And you have to be aware of what there is around you, the environment, how the world is going, and after to find your way. But the 2 first points are very huge points also to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you.